Notice is hereby given of the Friendswood regular amended special canceled meeting to be held at 910 South Friendswood Drive, Friendswood, Texas. Regarding the items of business according to the agenda listed below, the first item is a call to order. The second item is a public hearing on 3 items. The first being adoption of an updated official zoning map per Appendix C, Zoning Ordinance Section 3, provision for official zoning map, incorporating zone changes and corrections since the last adopted map dated January 8th, 2015.
Mr. Sassen, do you have the mic turned on in the battery pack?
Sorry, he's making sign language to me.
But it went off. I think it's dead. I'm going to go to my regular mic. Yeah.
Thank you.
Plan B.
Plan B.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is the public hearing to adopt a new updated official zoning map. We do this periodically per the subdivision ordinance. The last time we adopted an official zoning map was in 2015. So we track the zone changes that have taken place since then. And in order to incorporate all those changes into a new map, it has to be adopted by ordinance.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any public comments in favor? Are there any public comments in opposition? Seeing none, I'll move on to the second item. Letter B, proposed amendments to Appendix C, Zoning Ordinance Section 7, Schedule of District Regulations, Section 7.5, Community Overlay District, and Section 8, Subpart N, Downtown District Supplemental Requirements to change building material requirements per HB 2439. Aubrey?
Yes, sir. So this is per House Bill 2439 that was passed by the Texas Legislature this year. It went into effect September 1st, and it basically prohibits cities from regulating any exterior building products or building installation methods that are allowed by a national model code. So these changes are to bring our zoning ordinance into compliance with that state law. We did leave our preferred materials in the ordinance that were in there before. So we can still convey to developers, what our preference is, but we can't prohibit those materials.
Thank you. Are there any public comments in favor? Are there any public comments in opposition? Seeing none, we'll move on to the third and final of these public hearing items. Proposed amendments to Appendix B, Subdivision Ordinance Section 3, K3, sidewalks, to not require sidewalks in existing residential areas if sidewalks do not already exist. Aubrey, once again, please.
Yes, sir. This is to add some exceptions to the sidewalk requirements. New subdivisions will still be required to install sidewalks if they're curb and gutter streets. This is to add some exceptions for infill development, flood rebuilds, and other instances like that where there are not existing sidewalks in a neighborhood, just to not put the onus on one owner to install a sidewalk to nowhere.
Thank you. Are there any public comments in favor of this proposal? And are there any public comments in opposition? Seeing none, we'll close out the public hearing and move on to Section 3, Communication from the Public Committee Liaisons. To comply with provisions of the Open Meetings Act, the Commission may not deliberate on subjects discussed under this agenda items. However, the Commission may direct such subjects to be placed on a later regular Commission agenda for discussion and/or possible action. Is there any communication from the public? Once again, seeing none. We will now move on to Section 4. Consent agenda. These items are considered routine or ministerial in nature and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of items unless a commissioner or a citizen so requests, in which case the item would be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. The only item on the consent agenda is minutes from the regular meeting held on November 14th, 2019, our last meeting. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Shows to be unanimous. On to Section 5, action items. First action item on our list is consideration and possible action regarding the preliminary plat of Sterling Creek, Section 4. Aubrey, you want to lead us through this a little bit?
Yeah, can we get a motion and a
Oh, sorry.
second first?
Is there a motion to approve this?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thanks. Thanks, Aubrey. Keep me straight.
You're welcome. So this is a preliminary plat for the next section of Sterling Creek, which would be Sterling Creek Section 4. It's approximately 10 acres, and it will consist of 24 lots and 1 reserve. The property owner is dedicating a public easement that's outside the plat boundary in order to meet the requirements of the subdivision ordinance for access. Acceptance of that easement is going to be on City Council's agenda in January. The document's been drafted, and City Council just needs to authorize the mayor's signature on that easement. And then where that easement is will eventually be a permanent road for future sections of Sterling Creek. But even though it's temporary, the temporary construction is going to need to meet fire access requirements, so it'll have to support a fire truck for emergency purposes.
Thank you. Are there any, I should let you go first. Adam, anything you want to tell us about this?
No, I just want to thank Aubrey and Becky for helping us get to this point. They helped us a lot. But it's just we're extending Sterling Creek. These are 90 and 100-foot lots. They fit in the criteria. So just keep going.
Thanks. Any questions, Lisa?
Yeah, I didn't quite understand what was going on with plots 19 and 20. I saw a lot of chatter on them in the materials.
So it's the partial plat exhibit. So lots 19 and 20 are large tracts, and this plat only takes up a piece of those large tracts. So typically you plat an entire tract, but the subdivision ordinance does allow for a partial plat, but you have to show an exhibit identifying that whole tract, and then there's an acknowledgement statement saying that they'll plat it according to the requirements at the time when they plat the future, for the remainder of that tract.
Okay, but they're still the right size.
Yes. Yeah. All the lots in the subdivision meet the SFR designation.
I think that was the only thing that I didn't quite catch.
Apologize. Did you second, Marcus?
No.
Oh,
I don't have anything.
nothing? Dick?
A couple quick things. First is the easement you described, is that a change to the original plan then?
No.
Okay, so it's just a construction requirement at this point? Okay.
Yeah, it's an access requirement per the subdivision ordinance.
Okay. Second thing is what's the status of the road out front relative to this part of the subdivision?
Friendswood Lakes Boulevard. So this easement, the temporary easement actually goes up to the right-of-way for Friendswood Lakes Boulevard. This portion of Friendswood Lakes Boulevard that crosses to Sandy Lakes Drive will be part of the construction that Galveston County is going to be doing to complete Friendswood Lakes Boulevard. So there is going to need to be some coordination with the county or the contractor who ends up building that road in order to maintain some access across this portion. Again, it's for emergency purposes. But Friendswood Lakes Boulevard is, at this time, about 95% on the design. So hopefully they'll be starting construction after the first of the year.
Okay, so I'm reading this right then, that construction couldn't begin on this section until that was complete or at least passable?
No, they're going to begin construction on this section as soon as, they still need to do construction plans and submit final plat, but they're going to begin construction on this section sooner.
Before the road, okay. Thank you.
Mark?
No questions.
I just had a couple of questions, really mostly for you, Aubrey. So are we approving this subject to the easement getting approved by City Council?
Yes, this is just the preliminary plat. You'll see it again for final plat.
Okay.
And the plans for the construction of that road will be in their construction plans, which don't come to you, but
Got it.
There's more to
This is
come.
our only shot at it, but okay. And Mary Kate, maybe I should have asked this before the meeting. Do we need to ask for a motion to approve subject to the staff comments?
Yeah, whoever made the motion, if they would just amend it to,
Yeah.
whoever made the motion and whoever seconded it, just to amend it subject to staff comments.
Okay, so is it the first person who motioned to approve? I guess they're the ones who said it, even though I said it out loud? Okay.
Motion to approve, subject to staff comments.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, thank you. And then, Adam, I had just had a one quick question. So we're putting in 24 lots here. There's really nothing else. There's no swimming pool, no park area, nothing here at all. In the other areas, and I should have been driving around to look at this or look at the previous plots, what kind of amenities are you putting in?
So the amenities that we have detention ponds and there's walking, and I saw dogs out there today. You can utilize those.
So you're putting a trail around the detention pond?
We're not putting a trail
So there's a detention pond and there's,
pond and you can walk around it. This section actually we have drainage in the previous sections for this section.
right, okay.
So it'll
But this
just
whole
not-
subdivision has no pools, has no clubhouse, has no tennis
No,
courts,
In
nothing?
our price points, people put in their own pools.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. And no more comments? So, all in favor? Shows to be unanimous.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Adam. The next item of business is consideration and possible action regarding a recommendation to City Council. Oh, that says something different than what I printed, so I guess I should be reading up there. Consideration and possible action regarding a recommendation to City Council for the adoption of an updated official zoning map per Appendix C, Zoning Ordinance Section 3, provision for official zoning map, incorporating zone changes and corrections since the last adopted map dated January 8th, 2015. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. I guess I don't need to have you repeat what you said before, Aubrey. We'll go straight to comments and questions. We've already kind of talked about this a little bit. Mark?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Dick?
No, sir.
Lisa? This might be a really short meeting.
Right.
No, I'm pretty good on this, too. So, all in favor? Shows approved, unanimous. Letter C is consideration and possible action regarding a recommendation to City Council for proposed amendments to Appendix C, Zoning Ordinance, Section 7, Schedule of District Regulations, Section 7.5, Community Overlay District, and Section 8, Subpart N, Downtown District Supplemental Requirements to change building material requirements per HB 2439. Do I have another motion?
Motion for approval. Second.
You guys are a team. I'm going to go straight to comments. Anybody has a question for Aubrey, they can ask her? Mark?
I have one question, I guess. Can we dictate colors anymore, or is that just whatever anybody wants?
So those are pretty standard colors as far as a zoning map. The blue being commercial so,
I'm off, I'm asking the wrong.
oh, I'm
item.
sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. We can still regulate colors, yes. We left that in there. Sorry.
Thanks. Yeah. Dick, you got anything? No, sir. Lisa? Okay. No, I don't think I have anything on this either. I did want to make one comment that all of these have gone through the Planning and Zoning Subcommittee and kind of been discussed, and then were discussed last week. So if you're just watching this episode of Planning and Zoning, we've already kind of hashed this out, and we're all quite familiar with this. That's why it's kind of going pretty quickly. So I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor? Shows unanimous. Letter D is consideration and possible action regarding a recommendation to City Council for proposed amendments to Appendix B Subdivision Ordinance Section 3, K3, sidewalks, to not require sidewalks in existing residential areas if sidewalks do not already exist. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
There we go, breaking around. Okay, Lisa, do you have any questions, comments?
No, I think it's a good thing to add.
Eric?
No, sir.
Mark?
No questions.
Okay. All in favor? Shows unanimous. Section 6, discussion items. Discussion regarding proposed amendments to Appendix C, zoning ordinance, Section 11, powers and duties to amend the authority of the Zoning Board of Adjustment to be consistent with state law, particularly Chapter 211 of the Local Government Code. Aubrey, you want to describe this to us?
Yes, sir. So this is just a discussion item. It's been mentioned before. We discussed it with City Council. We've met with Zoning Board of Adjustment, and they're on board with this as well. Basically, there was also discussion about changing the number of board members. We are not going to change the number of board members, so that's remaining the same. The only thing we did still want to change, there's some minor just grammatical changes, but then also our ordinance was a lot more detailed than state law. There was a lot of stipulations put in there as far as special exceptions, permanent special exceptions, and temporary special exceptions. And the board, in order to approve any of that, has to make sure that all those items are met in order to consider an item. State law allows you to consider special exceptions, but it doesn't put all those stipulations on there. So it kind of ties the board's hands maybe in some cases. So taking all of those details out of the ordinance still meets state law, and it gives the board the flexibility that, they might need in future cases. So those are the red lines that are included in that.
So it basically, if I can paraphrase, it unties their hands and kind of lets them have the flexibility without all the rigid requirements. And they did request that we put this in at the ZBOA meeting.
Yeah, it actually started at senior staff level, and we did talk to the board about it, and they appreciate the opportunity for more flexibility.
Thanks. Any comments? Dick, you got anything you want to ask about on this?
No, sir.
I'm getting to be sir today. God, I must have been promoted. Lisa?
None for me.
Mark?
Just one clarification. So the member participation, so that was something that we discussed in a subcommittee. So what was the formality of that? This was our recommendation to the ZBOA to change membership?
So it was originally mentioned by a council member, so it was discussed with city council, and it was discussed with the zoning board of adjustment, and then I think it came back to the subcommittee that there really wasn't a benefit. You still have to have 75% of the vote, or, positive votes, whether it's 4 members or seven,
Yeah.
or 5 members or 7 members.
Okay, so I'm just questioning, and you guys have a really good record of being right here. They have the authority to push back and make their own decision on membership? Or is that dictated by someone who's got the authority? I'm not familiar with their charter, so I'm not sure.
State law requires a minimum of 5.
Uh-huh.
And so.
Which was the recommendation, right?
The discussion was whether or not to go to 7 members because there's 7 spaces up here.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And so that was the only,
Okay.
Yeah, I think there was an item that came up, and they thought that if we had 7 people, maybe it would have gone differently, and then they thought about it and said, no, it really wouldn't even have helped. And the ZBOA didn't really want to do it either, and so there was really very little appetite for it from any real, and I think even the council member withdrew the request, so.
Yeah, I'm just questioning who has the authority to make that decision. Where does that lie? What body?
city council.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
it would
why-
be
why
our
are we
recommendation.
talking- Why are we talking about it?
It's changing the zoning ordinance.
That portion. So we recommended a change.
Well, the zoning, so any
We withdrew-
change.
We withdrew the change before we submitted.
Yes,
That's
yes.
the piece I was missing.
Okay,
Yeah.
We withdrew that red line before we submitted this. Okay. Now
Yes.
I'm good.
But this
Correct.
doesn't include that, right?
Right.
That's been.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you. That was 2 months ago. so.
yeah.
Okay, well, all in favor?
Just discussion.
Oh, yeah, it's just discussion. It'll
Second.
be,
Gretchen,
Just discussion, you can't vote.
Oh, sorry, never mind. I withdraw the.
It'll
motion.
be
Yeah, right,
back.
I get in the habit, sorry. Thank you very much, appreciate the discussion. And so, Aubrey, just for my clarity, next meeting, we'll bring this up on a formal public hearing and then a formal vote, and then I get to say all those in
Yes.
favor.
yes.
Got it, thank you. Okay, so now we're to section 7, consideration possible action regarding future P and Z Commission meeting dates. Aubrey, you want to talk through it?
Yes, sir. Our annual retreat is this coming Monday at 6 p.m. It is going to be at the library, so don't come to City Hall. The library will have a Christmas dinner and talk about our plans for next year and what we've accomplished this year. And then we will not be having our next regular meeting because it's December 26th, the day after Christmas. And then for Thursday, our regular meetings are January 9th and January 23rd.
Is there much activity coming through? What are the good chances that January 9th is not going to happen?
Well, we'll
we'll have that-
should be
we'll
getting
have
this
this
public
item.
hearing on for
Yeah, we'll
this
have this item going forward for
Yeah,
sure. Okay.
but other plats and site plans are slowing down a lot.
This is the time of year. Yeah, thank you. I may have a trip, that's why I'm asking, but okay. Okay, and just for my comment, I've been talking to Joe, and he's been doing lots of stuff on the 16th, getting agendas, items, and getting presentations, so I think it'll be a productive meeting. I'm impressed with all his work. The next item is communication, and we start with commissioners. From commissioners, subject for future agenda items, general comments and/or updates from liaison assignments. Anything, Dick?
Nothing to report.
Eric?
No, sir.
Lisa?
For the planning committee or for our assignments?
This is just general items, but if you want to talk about planning subcommittee, you can do that too.
I don't think I have anything new on that, but for the Keep Friendswood Beautiful.
Yeah.
So they did the fall holiday and they had something like 68 tons of trash dropped off. I think that's huge. That's probably a big relief on some. I wonder if some of it was left from like flooding. And I have to confess, I didn't make this meeting, just going by their minutes. So the things that were, they're going to have a tree giveaway. That's always interesting to look at the trees. And then that looks like about the most of what's coming up. Santa in the Park was probably in between then and now, but I didn't go. Did anybody else go?
It's actually this weekend.
Coming up
Oh,
Saturday.
it's
Yes.
this weekend?
This weekend, yes.
I still have a chance.
Yes.
You still have an opportunity, right? 3 o'clock. Mark? Okay. I've got nothing special. The planning subcommittee. Becky, we still have a couple of things on our to-do list, or we still have a couple of things on our to-do list?
Yes, planning subcommittee, we're kind of on hold.
Right.
We had a discussion with city council about the comprehensive plan at the beginning of this month. They are going to have a retreat in February to talk about it more in detail and kind of come up with a plan on how they want to.
At one time, there was a thought that we would join them, and now that's not the thought anymore?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to give them some time to digest it and kind of think about how they want to address it, and then they'll give us more direction.
Okay. Is there any talk about a joint meeting of any type, or is that just they want to do their thing and go on?
Not at this time, but
Okay.
maybe in the future.
Okay, fair enough. Okay.
I still would like to encourage a sustainability plan as part of that comprehensive plan. There's several really good examples out there. It shouldn't be, okay, good.
And so we're going to have a permitted use table review in January, Aubrey?
Yes.
That's the one thing I saw on the agenda that's coming that we need to, and I guess that's a deadline that we need to do next month, kind of thing.
It's not really a debt, it's just kind of,
Oh, it's the tickler that says get it kicked off in January?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
There's lots of different ticklers, okay.
yeah.
Fair enough. Ordinance Subcommittee would be, Brett, anybody, has there been anything going on at the Ordinance Subcommittee? No? Or is that B? I got it backwards.
You're talking about planning.
Yeah, we're the Ordinance Subcommittee. Okay, sorry. Becky, do we have things we need to be doing?
The permitted use table review is the only
Which
thing
is
that
what
we're
I was
going to work
talking
on.
about to the wrong person again?
That's
Yes.
okay. We've got a couple of items I think that we want to suggest changing, so that'll be subcommittee. I sent y'all some emails. We can either try and meet via email or maybe try and get together after the holidays. So whatever works for y'all.
Why don't we plan to kind of stick around just after the meeting, and we'll talk about and see what the best way, because we're all together at the moment, and so we can, otherwise we have emails going back and forth and never can make So we'll-
Okay, we can do that.
let's get, if Dick and Marcus, if you don't mind, just for a minute.
Sure.
City Council, Trish.
So I wasn't going to say anything, but I'll just address the joint committee and why we were going to have, we are still going to have a joint committee with P and Z, but five of us are in our first term, or for Mike, first time as mayor, new city manager, first time community developer, the person in charge. So we would like a chance to hash out some things to make sure we all understand what we're reading, what we're doing, what we have the authority to do, our roles, all of those things, how we communicate with committees. And then I think y'all are the first ones that we want to have a joint meeting with afterwards. So that retreat, we kind of backed off, and I have to say, I suggested it, that
Yeah.
we need as council that chance
Perfectly
first. So anyway, just wanted to let y'all know. Okay.
Thanks for that, Trish.
Thank you for everything you do, and happy holidays.
Staff. Aubrey, anything else?
The November DRC report was in your backup material. I think it was pretty slim, maybe 1 or 2 items on there. And then also wanted to just let you know that the second reading of the Garden Home zoning district for Sterling Creek was approved by second reading at the beginning of the month. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thanks. Becky, do you have anything you want to share? No, sir. Okay, anything we need to be aware of? Anything new on the legal front? No?
No, but Santa better not speed.
There you go. With those fine words of wisdom, I'll call this meeting adjourned. Thanks very much.